Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to all of our attendees tuning in from around the world. Today's broadcast of Invisible Women in Sport is an Institute for Sport and Social Justice production. I'm your producer, Garnett L. Overby III. All guests will be muted during this production, but I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask a question or leave a comment. We will reserve time at the end to answer your questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our host, Gift Pendleton.
Hello. Welcome to Season 4 of Invisible Women in Sport. I'm your host, Gift Pendleton. For my second episode, I have the pleasure of welcoming Sonja Stills, Commissioner for the Mid-Eastern Atlantic Conference, also known as the MEAC. Ms. Sonja, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Gift, for this opportunity to talk with you today.
Yes, thank you for coming. I know we talked yesterday and I told you we were going to do 2 truths and a lie, so I hope you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, so I'm going to go first. As we do these, feel free to leave what you believe is a truth or a lie in the chat. So I'm left-handed, I was a jumper in college, and I'm the youngest child.
Okay. All right. I played the violin for 6 years. I was in a breakdancing group called Lady Motion Masters, and I met Prince.
I don't think you met Prince.
No, I didn't. I saw him. In my mind, I did.
It's okay. I understand it. But it was just that one I was like, I just don't know. All right, now your turn. Which one do you think is a lie? Would you like me to repeat them?
You're not the youngest.
I am the youngest.
You're not.
I was not a jumper. I'm sorry?
You're not left-handed? No, I got it wrong twice.
Yeah, I wasn't a jumper in college. I was a hurdler in college. So, I mean, it technically is a jump, but, you know, it's more running.
Technically,
I wasn't a field event. So maybe a third.
That was a half true. But okay, well, I'll take that.
It's okay, you know. We can't always be. We can't both be, you know, the best like me at this. But it's okay. It's okay. You'll get better next time.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yeah. I can strive for something. I'm good.
Strive for greatness. Always. You currently serve as the MEAC commissioner. How did you get your start into athletics?
So I always say I fell into athletics. My undergraduate degree was in human services counseling at Old Dominion University, and then I got my master's at Hampton University in human service, college student work personnel. And so when I was doing my undergraduate internship, I was working with Mindy Soper. She was the director of Greek life. And I had such a ball working with her. I actually got an award for a community service project that I put together. And so I really wanted to work with her again. So when the opportunity came doing my graduate internship, I really wanted to work with her. But she had moved to athletic academic support. And so I was like, what the hell? I want to work with her. And so I did it. I loved it, working with the student athletes, just learning the nuances to academic support. And then after I graduated, now back in those days, I was child prodigy, you know, academic support programs were fairly new. And so I would send out my resume and letters to the local colleges asking, can I start their academic program? And I sent one to the former commissioner who was the director of athletics at Hampton and said, could I start your program? And so since there was no cell phones, when he called me, I wasn't there, left a message. I called him and left a message and then never called me again. And so I was like, crap, what I got to do? So I went to a friend of mine in grad school said that the dean of women was looking for an assistant. And so I went and interviewed with her, got the job, and it just so happened that her aunt used to babysit me. Our families, military brat, our families travel, we're in the same places at the same time, and it just so happened her aunt used to babysit me. And so I started out as assistant dean of women, and the vice president of student affairs asked me one day, he was like, hey, how do you like the job? And I was like, I love what I'm doing, but that's not what I really want to do. And so it just so happened that he was the chair of the athletic certification committee. And so he set up a meeting with Dr. Thomas, and then Dr. Thomas hired me. And so I've been in athletics since then.
That's awesome. I'm hearing you were a child prodigy and you were so
Yeah.
driven
Yeah.
from a young age that, it all kind of came full circle to now. So was there a specific time that you realized that you really wanted to work in the realm of sports, given all the experiences that you've had?
It's funny. I always think that God put me where I needed to be, because ultimately, with my degree, I thought I was going to do student activities, stay and do the parties. That was going to be my thing. So I didn't really think that that would be where I would end up in sports. I think as I continue to progress within my career, then that became my focus in sports. The more I started working with the student athletes, the more that you put together an event or game operations and you see everything comes together, then you want to be in that type of environment. And so it's tremendous to be able to work with these students, as they come in as freshmen, and then see them become athletic administrators themselves. And just for instance, the new athletic director from Hampton University was my student athlete. And it makes me, now, again, I was a child prodigy, so it doesn't really make me feel old. But, just seeing that full circle is just amazing to me. It just so sports has really been very fulfilling.
Awesome. There are a lot of pivots that happen and occur in our life and kind of help us to order our steps and just help us, get to where we are destined to be. I hear you saying that from what I've heard so far. Did you envision that this is the path that your life would take?
Oh, heck no. As a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a lawyer, to have my little briefcase with me. And, that's where I thought I wanted to do. Of course, going to college, it was computer science major. I went through many transitions with that to end up in counseling. But no, I did not see myself in sports. I was not an athletic person. I played church softball until I had my season-ending injury and I fell off the bench, and that was it. But that really was my extent regarding athletics. Now, when I look at throughout my career that I kind of fulfilled as a little girl, being a lawyer, I did compliance. That translate, the legalese with that, working in the Dean of Women's office and having to go through hearings. And so I got that. And then with teaching, being able to teach, I did some teaching with the freshmen as they came in, and just educating regarding compliance and that type of thing. So I couldn't envision being in the athletic realm of it, but it kind of really fulfilled as a little girl, what I wanted to do.
Awesome. Yes. I remember yesterday we were talking and you were talking about your journey through your academic career. And you were saying that there was one pivotal moment in particular that was the reason that kind of guided you into counseling. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I flunked. Look, I was so into freshman year. Like, here's the thing, grew up more so like a latchkey kid. My mom, my dad was in the military, he traveled. My mom pretty much, worked, but, so I spent a lot of time by myself, in the house. You got to be in the house by a certain time and all that stuff. Get to Old Dominion University. I got a key to the front door of the dorm into my own room so I can come and go as I please. I joined every organization. I was a sweetheart, Sigma sweetheart. My first boyfriend was a Q. I joined the church choir. I joined an organization called Escape, which is enthusiastic students supporting athletic events. I was in everything. And I could not find the right major. I kept changing majors. I went from computer science to IT to accounting. And then, and then all of a sudden, I was academically dismissed. I wanted to make sure that, going home after I've had all that freedom and, where are you going? No, you can't go there. And, that, and I'm like, oh, let me hurry up, get right back into school. So I went to community college and I got into social work. Now, that really started to that was my niche. That was where I really found direction. And I saw so many counselors, how could I not do counseling? So when I got back to ODU, that's what I majored in, and I really excelled. So ODU gave me another opportunity to really get my act together, and really gave me the direction where I could, make A's and B's finally, and to finally be able to pledge Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So, it really, that needed to happen for me to find my path, my journey. It really needed to happen. And I would not be where I am if that did not happen.
Definitely. I think, just hearing your experience is very common that when you first get to college, there's so much freedom. There's so many things that you can do. Why wouldn't you want to join all the clubs and organizations? But if you don't have, the organizational skills or the proper time management, or just, everyone goes to college for a different reason. So it's amazing to see, from that moment, how you were able to just progress to where you are today. And so when you are academically dismissed, what kept you motivated to continue your career path and to get to where you are today?
Well, definitely was not going to stay at home. Because I wanted my freedom. I want to be able to do what I wanted to do. One of the good things that I get from my parents is that good work ethic. So whatever, even if I was at home, I got me a job, get back into school, because I knew the importance of education. The disappointment in telling on my dad's face when I told him that I was academically dismissed. There's no way that I want to disappoint this man, this beautiful, fun-loving man, who, sacrificed. My parents sacrificed a lot to give me these opportunities, and I just really pissed it away. And not knowing my direction, just trying to find myself. So it was really important that I got back into school, so that I can ultimately, I want to say make money, be a millionaire, but ultimately, make something. I don't want to be like on the streets, saying I really want to have my own. It's very important that I have my own. And so getting back into school was extremely important to me.
Definitely. I think family is such a great motivator, whether that be positive or negative sometimes. I know sometimes I love my family, but sometimes it's like, oh, you got to get this done. You have to do this. But it's like, you see, I already have so much on my plate. So just knowing that everyone's always rooting for you, but it might look different depending on like the way that they're loving you. So
Absolutely.
Just knowing that it all paid off is just amazing to see for sure.
Yes,
and now that you're working in compliance, and prior to your current role, how has that been? I know you're saying it wasn't necessarily your dream or it wasn't necessarily your ideal role, but what were you able to make out of that role?
Yeah, so the the funny thing, compliance. So, I was the coordinator of academic support and the senior woman administrator at Hampton University. So I dabbled in a little bit of compliance. I worked with Malcolm Zeke Avery, and me and him together was like Mutt and Jeff. He was compliance, I was academic support, so I learned so much under him, and he gave me the latitude to learn, the openness to learn. So after Dr. Thomas became the commissioner of the MEAC, about 2 months later, he sent for me. And what he said was, it's time for you to get paid for what you're worth. And how impactful that statement was to me. And he said, but the only job that I have is director of compliance. And I was like, I don't even like compliance, but I'm coming. So just stepping out on faith. So, I was still learning. And then I think back when I was attending those compliance meetings when I was still at Hampton, and how I would duck out because I'm going shopping because compliance ain't got nothing to do with me. And 360, I'm teaching people about compliance, conference compliance and whatnot, and how I missed that opportunity to soak everything in. But learn compliance. And the thing about it was, I was always focused on the work. I got promoted, not asking for promotions, because my focus was on the job at hand. And so I continued to move up, became the senior woman administrator, executive assistant to the commissioner, then an associate, senior associate, and then a chief operating officer, and then the chief of staff. So as I progressed, the more that I was able to oversee the staff, oversee different projects. It's never the same year. You're doing it, that's day in, day out, you're doing the exact same thing. It was always different each year. I did cheerleading championship, never did cheerleading in my life, wanted to, never did, but I ran a cheerleading championship. It's learning, not turning down those opportunities that were put in front of me. Everybody knows there is a last line on your job description that says other duties as assigned. So everything is always your job. So not turning down those opportunities or shrugging, well, I do shrug, but those opportunities to do something new. I started esports, being able to say, oh, wow, I don't have a clue. I haven't played a game since Atari when I was little, but I'm getting in there, learning the industry so that I can make my mark. But being really focused on the job, and then whatever comes, I wouldn't even know what I would do if I wasn't doing this, because this is where my focus is.
Definitely. And I think you just brought some great sentiments to life just about staying where you're planted, like you said earlier or before today, and just, focusing on the task at hand, because it's about steps. Everything is not necessarily going to happen overnight. You might not necessarily have your dream job, but there's so many things that you can learn and just appreciate while you're there, and so many skills that you can have. And another thing that I noticed that you were saying was just the importance of having a mentor. And it sounded like your former boss was a mentor to you. So what mentors besides your boss, or it can be your boss, did you receive or have you received in your lifetime?
Yeah, so I always start with my mom, again, her being the single mom while my dad was traveling and whatnot, and just that work ethic, and I remember when Dr. Thomas would always say, hey, I'm not going to be in this position, you need to be ready to become the next commissioner. And I'm like, I don't want your job. I don't want 11 bosses. You're enough. I don't want to do it. And, he don't listen. So, he's still preparing me. He's still providing those opportunities. And I remember going to see my parents sitting in the backyard, and I'm talking to my dad, and I'm like, oh, he's talking about being a commissioner, and my dad, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that. He'd be like, yeah, baby, it's all, and then my mom is like, no, everybody got bosses, you can do it. And so keeping that in my mind, like, all right, yeah, when the opportunity comes, let me throw my name in the hat, because clearly I can do it. So Mindy Soper, again, huge mentor. I love the way she led. She was a great leader, because she can build the relationships. She was empathetic, but she held you accountable. And people gravitated to her, and which is very important. And people want to work with her. So she was a great person that just watching her, how she operates, and amazing. And then Jackie McWilliams Parker, the commissioner of the CIAA. Oh my God, love her to death. She is like such a cheerleader for me, a mentor. She checks in on me, the advice, and just to, like, when she speaks, I'm in awe of her. Like, oh my gosh, how can I, be like her? You know, these are like the women, and my former Dean of Women, Jewel Long, taught me the HBCU culture. It's so much different from coming from ODU, even though I went to Hampton as an undergrad, not getting the full roundabout way of being in the HBCU culture. Coming from ODU, I'm Sonja, get to Hampton, no, you're Miss Stills. Look like you in charge of something. You can't blend in with students. You look young because I told you I was child prodigy, but
of course.
So you can't blend in with everybody else. You got to look like you're in charge of something. So I've learned so much from her about being in a HBCU. I was supposed to go to Hampton actually for undergrad, but I didn't want to go to summer school because I wanted to work at Busch Gardens. So I went to ODU. That's the only reason. My life could have done a different turn, but again, God puts you in the path that you're supposed to go in. And I love my days at ODU, of course, because I got academically dismissed. So I love my days at ODU. But Hampton gave me my identity as an African-American woman and my place within the world and the culture. And so that's really part of why I'm so passionate about HBCUs and where we need to go in keeping our culture together.
I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. I personally did not attend an HBCU, but many of my friends and family did. And just the rave reviews that I've heard and, just the lifestyle change that it can have on a person, because identity is so important. Being around individuals that look like you can be so important. And coming from myself as a former student athlete, I think it's even more important in some ways in that department, because if you're, bringing issues such as compliance or any other things to someone that doesn't necessarily look like you, it's like, do you feel like you can trust this individual, or if you're going to be heard or just seen in those spaces? So that's just awesome. So what was your transition like from working compliance for that period of time to your new role now as the commissioner of the MEAC?
Well, besides going next door to the biggest office, it was a surreal experience. The good thing about Dr. Thomas is he gave me a seat at the table. So he allowed me to, even if I was just sitting in the office, really had nothing to do with compliance, but hearing the conversation, explaining after a call is over, okay, do you see why I did X, Y, and D? This is why I said, this is why you need to do X, Y, and D. He constantly taught me. And he allowed me the latitude to grow. And so when I transition, you get that imposter syndrome, like, oh Lord, I don't know. They ain't gonna find out. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Yeah, I don't want to be fired as the first fired female for the MEAC. So, but it allowed me to now get in these conversations and surprise myself by, like, I'm sitting there having a conversation with somebody and I'm like talking to myself, like, oh, you know what you're talking about. Oh, that sounded good, and not being afraid that you're going to get found out, like you don't know what the heck you're doing. And but if you think about it, being at this level, you want to feel like you know it all. Nobody knows it all. You always have, no matter where you are, you got to constantly keep learning, keep educating yourself. But you also have to surround yourself by individuals who are specialized in these different spaces. If I'm not good in football, then hey, I got to coordinate as officials to ask questions and then ask the coaches questions if need be. But you surround yourself with staff that's going to be able to be there to support you. But there's so many resources where you're reaching out to other commissioners or to the NCAA to do your job. So the transition, luckily, because I've been there as of last October, 20 years. So people knew me. And I remember, going to the interview with the presidents, because I got 8 bosses. So you have to interview with all 8. And so, I remember, in the bathroom, got my music, got my Lizzo, I got my Mary J, I'm all hype, trying to calm myself down. And I get into the interview and the first question was, why should you be the commissioner? And I was like, why not? And then I was like, oh crap, I just said that. It's like, I was trying to be, you want to be, try to have yourself as this corporate type person, but I have to be authentically me. And that authenticity, me, my true self, showed from the get-go. And I can't be afraid to make mistakes because everybody makes mistakes. Believe me, the 80s who think they don't, I know you might make mistakes. You don't want nobody to know, but I know. So we all make mistakes. And so just being in this position, I think Dr. Thomas prepared me along the way to be able to sit in this seat.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Just such an inspiration. So what would you say has been your greatest achievement thus far within your career?
My greatest achievement is I absolutely think it's a great achievement when the individuals who I've worked with or supervised has gotten a job, where people watch them and see how talented they are, and they come and get them. It is, when I tell you, it's one thing to leave on your own or you have to leave because somebody told you had to leave. It's better if somebody comes and gets you because they've been watching you. They see how hungry you are, and that you're focused on the job at hand. And so when staff members are grabbed up, it's okay, sad because, I need you, but, great when you see them shine. Sitting in, I know a couple of my staff members, when I have them attend our presidents and chancellors meeting, And, you get nervous, like, oh gosh, how they gonna do? And then you sit back and you're like, oh my God, my baby, look at my baby. I'm just so proud. And just like, oh my God, how much they've grown. That really is what really makes me happy is when they shine, they have a seat at the table and they have a voice at the table, and the leadership takes notice. That's what makes me happy.
Awesome. And something that just really resonated with me was you saying that when they come back and get you, because oftentimes, for everyone that doesn't happen. That's so just to show that uh, you're valued within that organization and wherever else you're going next is just truly amazing. So now that you've been in the MEAC as the commissioner, and you've seen it from a lot of different angles and perspectives, and you bring so much to the table, what are your future aspirations for the MEAC?
So I want to continue to help put the MEAC more on a national platform, particularly when we're talking about our Olympic sports, who not always are on a national platform or broadcast and that type of thing. And I've moved towards that, where we've had our men's and women's tennis championship broadcast on HBCU Go for the first time in our history, having their fans, which are mostly in family who are mostly international, be able to see them play is extremely important. Getting the brand of the MEAC is out there is very important in telling our story. We have to be able to tell our story visually, graphically, about who we are. We have to get to a point where somebody sees MEAC and they know exactly what the MEAC stands for. We are the elite 8 of committed institutions, of higher research institutions, academic institutions. We are what I call the the HBCU Ivy League, because we have these tremendous academic institutions. And so this is where I see us going. Revenue, having revenue to eliminate line items for our institutions. I created the MEAC Foundation to be this pseudo bank pot of money for the institutions to use to make improvements on facilities, improve the sport of whatever sport that needs, like football, basketball, softball, whatever. Increase scholarships, fully funding some of the Olympic sports, adding championship access. I want to be able to bring baseball and men's and women's golf back to the conference. And then just a pot of money that will help us as we look at the recommendations that have come from the Division I Transformation Committee, where it's going to help put us on a level playing field, where we need to assist institutions with getting a full-time mental health person. But that money is there to assist our athletic programs. As everybody has been on the HBCU train with the murder of George Floyd and everyone wants to give back, the money has been going to the sexy institutions. It doesn't always hit the smaller institutions. And when the money does hit, it hits the campus as a whole, where there's needs everywhere. But my focus is on improving the athletic portion, getting money strictly into athletics, and then some across the campus as well, so that we can be on that national platform. We are the front porch. Athletics is the front porch to the university. So by improving our athletics programs, that helps with enrollment. So that's how I see the MEAC.
Awesome. And I know that, a lot of these things, if not all, will be accomplished just under you as a commissioner. So I'm very excited to just see, how this takes place and, comes to fruition for sure. And so for anyone that's listening, how can they donate to the MEAC Foundation?
Absolutely. You can go to meacsports.com and you'll click on MEAC Foundation under About the MEAC. And it lists exactly what that money would go to. So you can either donate specifically for a specific item, or you just unrestricted, and we'll put it where it needs to go, with student athlete wellness, mental health. We really want to concentrate on providing those opportunities and resources for our student athletes. But yes, if you have some big donations, Clint Johnson, our MEAC director of major gifts, is brought on board to assist with that. And of course, in-house is Cecily Tafoya, my assistant commissioner for external affairs, and which is another thing about having women in the office and providing opportunities, women of color. And Ms. Tafoya is Hispanic. I have another one's mixed, Hispanic, Black, white, Caucasian, whatever. We have a mixture of diversity, which hopefully reflects the diversity of our student athletes as well. So, which is our umbrella of We Are MEAC, which shows the diversity that we have within the conference. So, but yes, please. And then you also can join the MEAC Nation, which is like the booster club of the MEAC Foundation of the conference, which is, we're all a family. That's a great thing about being around HBCUs. No matter what school you went to, we're a family. It's always like a homecoming. And so, but we want to party with a purpose in how we can help, again, the athletic programs. And so you can join the MEAC Nation, again, going to the meacsports.com and joining us.
Yes, party with a purpose. That sounds great. And I'm so excited to just see how this all comes out. And for you, what do you see yourself doing next?
Besides marrying a rich man, so that I can look at somebody's water, I've always thought, like, what would I do next? If I wasn't doing this, what would I do next? Whatever I would do would be somewhere where I can help people. And, I don't even care if I'm like an administrative assistant at an organization, something to do with the community, just a more simpler life, as you said. But yeah, I think whatever I will do next, because I never know. I never knew what I was doing my whole career. I just let God lead me to where I was gonna go. So yeah, I just want to take care of me next, fully take care of me next. I think that's probably the most, yeah, that's it.
Yes, great answer. And as I approach the last question, I would like everyone to start just putting any questions that you have for the guests in the chat, and we would love to answer them for you guys. And how do you deal with burnout?
Yeah, I get burned out a lot.
You do so much.
Yeah, sometimes, I'm an introvert. And people like, you can't, yeah, I'm a true introvert. So I expel it, a lot of energy to get out there and do what I need to do. So I gotta take that time where I can step back and no phones, I don't want to talk to anybody, and be by myself so I can re-energize. So I think the best thing that I kind of try to do every day is I set my phone to do not disturb from 10 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning, so that I don't get, if I hear the phone, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to look, and then I'll be up all night. And getting the mindset that if somebody's calling me at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, ain't nothing I can do about it till the next day anyways. So it's okay to just walk away from that. The other thing is I binge watch a lot of shows. I used to watch the soaps, Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless, religiously, because I can get lost in somebody else's problems. I can disconnect and be involved in the stories of what's going on, rather than still being connected to work. I have to find a way to totally disconnect, because I can just stay in the office and keep working. But I'm going to burn out, and it will reflect physically. I spent the majority of my career sick, just sick, and me and my doctor trying to figure out how, what's going on, can't figure it out. And then years go by and figure out that just reading, anxiety, put me on some anxiety medication, and been good ever since. It's that stress of being able to step back. And I got a therapist, somebody who I can talk to help me, give me the tools that I need to be able to manage my mental health. And that's very, very important. And as a counselor, like, I should know better. And it took me a while to get a therapist. And I know everybody needs to talk to somebody. And so I think it's very important to find that solitude and that peace that's away from everybody. The other thing is, especially when you get burned out with your job and you're like, oh, I can't do it anymore. You got to go to professional developments, workshops, anywhere that when you go and you are around people who have the same issues, problems that you deal with, you find new skill sets, and you become energized. I always remember going to workshops and come back and oh my God, I got this idea, I'm ready to roll. And I just start rolling. So you just find those different ways that's going to help re-energize you, but you have to take time each day to find that peace in order to keep moving.
Definitely. I think, as a counselor, you're so used to dealing with other people that it's often so easy to forget about yourself, because
Absolutely.
it's so easy to tell somebody else what to do. But when it comes to ourselves, it's like, oh, I also have to worry about me in the follow through process. So just
Absolutely.
acknowledging that one is the first key part. And yeah, I think it's just something that we all have to do a different process of finding out, what works for us. It's not going to be the same. And I think, because it's not necessarily taught in schools, you have to look inwardly a lot of times and find a lot of different resources or take advantage of what's around you. So awesome to see that you found your process for sure.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. And so my final question, I hope you guys are still putting questions in the chat, is do you have any advice? We have so many different people from so many different walks of life, some in the sports realm, some are not. Any younger person that's looking to break into the sports world, what would you like to say to them?
I would say stay where your feet are planted. Focus on the job, giving the job everything. If you get to a job and you're already looking at other jobs and you're constantly trying to network yourself to the next level, but you have not achieved anything where you are, you need to stay grounded where you are and focus on the work at hand, because people watch you. You never know who's watching, and that's how I pick the staff. Majority of the staff is just by watching them, seeing what they're doing, and what we'd like to do is hire interns to come back. We pulled interns to come back based on their work ethic while they were here. So that's very important. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Again, I'm an introvert. So getting into a big room of people, I want to be like, let me stay with my person because I don't want to talk. But I'm in the big C. I got to talk to everybody. So being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that's the same thing when there's tasks that are given to you and you're like, I have no idea how to do it. and you shy away from those opportunities, just jump in there. You know, the same thing. I didn't do cheerleading championship, put that thing together. We were the only HBCU cheerleading championship. You know, just being open to opportunities. Stay hungry. You got to stay hungry. You got to do not pass any opportunity that's given to you. The willingness to learn, and don't, most important, act like you're gonna get fired. I always, no matter what Dr. Thomas said, he would always say, you know, if you can't get along, Miss Stills, then you gotta go. And so, you know, I was good, you know, and look, no, I still showed up to work on time. I still, you know, get my work done, be a good team player. I work like I was gonna get fired. The people who get comfortable, come in late, they don't last, because you're not, you get way too comfortable. You cannot get way too comfortable. You have to be giving your all the time.
Yes, there were so many gems there. I hope you guys caught them all. I won't be able to say them all because there are so many, but I truly appreciate, you know, the wisdom for sure. And I think that it's just something that you got to take it day by day, you know, because as you're saying, you got to stay hungry. I'm getting a little bit full, but you're right. I'm going to keep eating. I'm going to keep going for sure, you know, taking it day by day.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to transition to the chat. We have a mixture of comments and questions.
Okay.
And we have Melanie Wynn says, no problem and thank you. Nakia Hill says, a great leader inspires greatness in others. Garnett Overby says, MEAC is the HBCU Ivy League.
Thank you.
We have Jacinda, who's glad to be here, as well as Nakia saying that the MEAC is definitely the Elite Eight. Our first question is, what are some challenges that the NIL presents with a conference perspective, with member institutions in different states?
Wow, that's a great question. You going into work. Okay. So NIL, you know, we have let me start back. Our presidents and chancellors have been very, very involved in what NLI, the effects of NLI on HBCUs. The federal bills that are out there with Cory Booker's bill and some other senators' bills are trying to get at the Power Five, you know, all this money that they have. And so they're trying to regulate what's going on up here. Now, we're lower resource institutions. We don't have the money that we'd have the collectives that are going on. HBCU's alumni don't necessarily give back to the institutions the way the other alumni give at the Power Fives. So we don't have that pool of money. You know, the money that the NLI, we could be improving our facilities and whatnot. You know, you got the students feeling good, but you know, you got the facility falling apart. It doesn't make sense. It also allows a wider gap between the haves and have-nots. You know, you're going to have a football player riding around in a drop top, and then you have a tennis player with nothing. So that various dimensions of NLI, we have to have a federal, we do have to have a federal bill because of the different bills from each state. We need to be all on the same level playing field when it comes to NLI. The recruitment of student athletes shopping around for the best NLI deal, HBCUs are going to be left out of that. And so we have to provide, again, who we are as HBCUs, those opportunities that we give to those who don't have those opportunities. That's why HBCUs came about. So as we continue to figure out what NLI looks like, the board presidents and chancellors will be meeting with various legislators to talk about the impact of HBCUs on the decisions or what could come out of those type of bills. And we've met with, like I said, like 4 or 5 senators who had bills to talk about the impact of HBCUs, because we will continue to always be that unintended consequence to whatever legislation that comes about. I hope that answered your question, because I probably was just rambling. So
I believe it definitely did. I think, NIL is something that, because it's so new, it's so challenging to just, know how it would affect everyone. And myself, I retired right before NIL came into fruition for a lot of student athletes. So just seeing how, some of my former teammates have been affected by it and how they're able to like profit, but to the same degree, it's like, if you're not knowledgeable, you could also be taken advantage of as a student athlete, take advantage of as a, institution. And so, just the fact that now there's a new branch of sports law that they're doing NIL in textbooks at law school. It's so crazy to think about how, we're currently living in the times where these things are happening around us. So it's like, how do you keep up? So there definitely needs to be some regulations just help even the playing field, because we know that HBCUs are needed and, the talent already relies within our community. So how, in what way can we keep it here? For sure.
Yeah, we partner with influencer so we can educate our student athletes, and then provide them resources. So if we take pictures, they have access to those pictures within this. They have a little marketplace in there. But it's very important that we educate the students regarding NLI, because, you're getting money. You might be signing away your name, image, and likeness when you thought that you're doing a commercial for this one thing, and then they got your name, image, and likeness forever. Being able to read those contracts, got to pay them taxes, all that stuff that comes into it. We have to make sure that we're really educating our student athletes to make sure that they are aware of what comes with, NIL.
Awesome. And Donna Ledwin says, thanks for reminding us to give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves. And Garnett responds with, that's a great insight. HBCUs always have a unique perspective.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And transitioning back, that closes out the Q&A portion, but I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I don't know. All right, let's go.
Are you nervous?
Oh, girl, yeah, but I stay ready. Let's do it.
Oh, of course. So as a Black woman, being in the sports industry, being, as you said, the first Black woman commissioner at the MEAC, I would like to rephrase my question. As you are the first in this industry, how have you felt that, the sports industry has or has not been welcoming to you?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's like that. We got to get Black power. Okay. So it is, you still get those comments of whether as a woman that you can lead an athletic or sports programs, particularly football. I didn't play football, but that doesn't mean I can't lead an organization. I can still know what is needed, operations of getting the program, getting you what you need. So you fall into those pitfalls. Now there was, and I actually, there's something that happened, Media Day. We had outstanding football media day. It was streamed. It was awesome. There was this one podcaster who had nothing negative to say except for what I looked like, what I was wearing, and had a picture of me beside Medea. Now, yes. So part of me was like, I made it. It's like SNL, y'all, I can see the humor. Okay, great. The other part is, you couldn't find anything wrong. So you chose to talk about my looks. Now, would he have done that if a man was sitting in that same position?
Most likely not.
So, it tells me, and so I saved that picture as a reminder of how we still got a ways to go. Even though we're in the 50th anniversary of Title IX, we haven't made it, because that should not have been within any type of statement. It had nothing to do with sports. What I was wearing had nothing to do with sports, and that dress was cute. I don't know, but I could see, and I gave the dress away because I was like, I can't anymore. But, we still haven't gotten where we need to go as women to be respected for what we do. I haven't played football doesn't mean that I can't lead football. And at the same time, that person that said it never was a cheerleader, and they never was softball. And that's saying when you talk about the people who've been in this position haven't played these various sports, did not mean that they could not lead the conference. And it's the same way as a female. So we have to continually work harder than we should have to as women in order to be heard and respected. And so we'll get there as we continue to do away with being first. We have too many first. When it becomes the norm, then I think we'll be there. But everybody has to, find their way to our greatness. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. You imparted so much wisdom, so much insight. And I just want to thank you once again for just taking the time out to talk to me, to talk to all of our guests today, all of our listeners. And
Sure.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And so
be my presence. Yes.
Of course. And so with that, we want to say thank you to the support for the Invisible Women in Sport. We are a non-for-profit organization with other programs that impact various social justice issues. We rely on donors and sponsors to stand with us and support our ongoing work. Please use the QR code on the screen to make a financial donation. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. Special thank you again to the MEAC, our guest Sonja, as well as the IWIS team, our producer, Garnet L. Overby III, and our senior advising consultant, Matt Edelson. Thank you for all the organizations that registered for Ms. Sonja's episode. We would like to extend a special thank you to the MEAC, and we would like to send a special shout out to the Invisible Institute for Sport and Social Justice. Please follow us on all social media platforms to stay up to date and informed on future programs at Institute SSJ. If you ever miss an episode, we've got you covered on the YouTube channel at Institute SSJ. We have all of our episodes posted and up to date. Also, we have a lot of inquiries about if you have a connection to internships, supporters that have internships available. Please send your information to our producer, Garnet Overby, at sportandsocialjustice.org so we can send it out to the people reaching out to us. Viewers, we need your feedback to make Invisible Women in Sport the best it can be. Following today's episode, you will receive a short survey. It will take about 90 seconds to complete. Please submit it to us. Our next episode of Invisible Women in Sport will feature Kashi Walmer. She's the CEO and founder of the KCW Consulting Group on February 23rd. So look forward to our next episode. Once again, I'm your host, Gift Pendleton for Invisible Women in Sport webcast, See Us Now.